for sure. And of course, looking at the movie news of the day, looking at my friends over at Bounding Into Comics for all of the movie news that I normally go to, some of the big stuff going on right now, there's a lot of rumors and a lot of speculation about what exactly is going on with the future of the DCEU. So we can talk about that a little bit this morning for any fans of the DCEU. And of course, the rumors have to deal with there's a couple actually, about Sir Michael Keaton. I don't know why I'm keep calling people sir, but essentially Michael Keaton is now rumored to be coming back into the role of Bruce Wayne to either return as Bruce Wayne's Batman or potentially as old Bruce, which I think would be the best fit for him, old man Bruce, and a tie-in essentially to a potential future Batman Beyond storyline. Now, the way that I think that they should do it, again, if I got to kind of like fantasy book this, if I got to fantasy book the DCEU, this is exactly how I would do it. I would say, all right, let's go ahead and bring Michael Keaton back in for the next film, whatever that film might be. Let's bring him in as Old Man Bruce. Let's go ahead and get that going, because obviously we have Flashpoint coming up, or at least ideally coming up. I want to say the time frame on that one is expected to come out around 2022. So here's what I'm thinking. All right, just kind of laying it all out there. In 2021, we are getting the Zack Snyder Cut of Justice League. There's some rumors speculating about that. There's actually a rumor now going around that you could even potentially see Ryan Reynolds return as Green Lantern in that cut of the film. That's the one I believe the least, but hey, the rumor's out there, so I might as well just mention it. So you have that coming out next year. Obviously, I think that's going to be kind of like that ground of, okay, what are people thinking about this? Is the DC property, bringing in the cash, bringing in the money? Are the fans still out there to support it? I think that the answer will be yes. I think that the subscriptions to HBO Max will definitely increase by that point for people wanting to see the Snyder Cut of the film. And then from that point, that I think will shape what the future of their franchise looks like, what the future of, again, the next major film after that being Flashpoint. Because obviously, of course, before then, we've got Wonder Woman 1984 planned. There's already talks of a Shazam 2. There's already talks, of course, about trying to bring in some other, or either Aquaman 2, so some other DCU properties. But the next major one after the Snyder Cut is going to be Flashpoint. The reason why is because Flashpoint, to me, is going to be the film, based on everything we're hearing about it, that's going to essentially justify everything that they have been doing so far with not only their mainstream films that are all interconnected, but also doing other films like Joker, for instance, that are separated, that are in a different universe, or the upcoming The Batman coming out next year as well, right? And so Flashpoint, I think, is a key part of that. Flashpoint is key to getting that stuff right. Because if they can get Flashpoint, that's when they can fully and officially establish a multiverse. And then that is when they can essentially not only justify what they've been doing, but also go to town, really, on any story that they want. Cast anyone that they want in any various roles and just say, oh, this is in a different world, or this is a different Earth. They could have a lot of fun with that. It might be somewhat confusing, but you would need to have that mainstream movie, right? You would need to have Flashpoint to get the normies into the picture to say, okay, normies, here's how it works. Here's how the multiverse starts, right? Here's how the multiverse happens. So this is going to be key, because in Flashpoint, if we already have established that Bruce Wayne being played by Ben Affleck, he could potentially still be involved. Again, there's rumors that he might not be done with the role. Of course, we'll have to wait and see if that happens. But even if he isn't, if you are establishing a multiverse, it's not going to be hard for them to say, ooh, we are now going to bring in the Tim Burton Batman films into our universe, because it's going to be established as a separate universe, and therefore you could bring Michael Keaton back as Batman in that instance. And then if you do that, and you establish the multiverse, and you establish everything that comes with that concept of a multiverse, boom, now you can make more films featuring Michael Keaton's Batman, and that's where the Batman Beyond storyline can come into play, right? So again, there's two different rumors going on, and they're both interconnected. One, that Michael Keaton is going to be brought back for the Flashpoint movie coming in 2022. The second rumor is that he's not just being brought back for that, but also, in addition to that film, being brought back to be in a Batman Beyond storyline. Now, I would hope that both are true. I think Michael Keaton is a badass. I would love to see him either in the cowl once more, as like kind of like a last hurrah, him just sitting in the chair like in Batman Beyond, controlling the robotic Batman, the robotic bats essentially, before he finds the protege, right? Before he finally establishes that there's someone else that can take on the mantle. There's a lot of really cool things they could do. They could bring in Nightwing under that too. Imagine they do a Batman Beyond storyline, but then they also, through that process, bring in characters like Nightwing. And again, there's so many things that the Flashpoint movie could happen. And so really, I think Flashpoint is going to be what the Justice League film should have been. I think all of us can agree that the Justice League film that we got, right, the Joss Whedon cut, was not the film that fans deserved and was not the film that should have been. It was not the film that was going to establish this universe for years to come. So if Snyder can fix those issues with his, I guess it'll be deemed as the official cut of Justice League, and that helps to set up for a Flashpoint movie, then Flashpoint could essentially be that successor to Justice League and could be the film that Justice League was supposed to be, that could not only be a great film, obviously focusing on the Flash, but the bigger storyline being the more important one, establishing again the essence of a multiverse, being able to bring in different characters, bring in different actors, etc. All right, Phonemo says, the only way to save the DCEU is to get rid of Ezra Miller. Well, I would say nay. That's not the only way to save the DCEU. There's a lot of things that need to be done. That, I think, is an important one, right? I think there's a lot of people that are not fans of the Ezra Miller version of The Flash. Ezra Miller, of course, outside of the role is an asshat. So I think that him being replaced would be good just for the future of the film franchise in general. That being said, if the way they do that is by bringing him back for one more movie in Flashpoint, well then, hey, sure, why not? Let's go ahead and get that done, right? Let's bring him back for one more film and then replace him because Flashpoint will allow us to do so. Bruce says, Flashpoint, do what you want. You can just reset it. And yeah, that's the mindset. But you know what? I think the DCEU kind of needs a reset. I think it does. And I think that if they do the reset correctly, they could get a lot of things right. Because yes, it's a reset, but it also is a way for them to preserve what they already have, right? Because it gives them the option to bring in a Michael Keaton as a Batman, right? If for any reason they're still having the issues with Ben Affleck, or if Ben Affleck is done, they can still have a Batman, right? They can still have Michael Keaton come in with the Batman Beyond storyline. And then, of course, don't forget, they still have the Robert Pattinson Batman too. So Flashpoint, again, kind of opens the world up a little bit. It helps to explain the concept of the multiverse. It helps to kind of explain the mindset of what they are currently trying to do. And so I think it actually helps them. I think it actually puts them in a better position. And so they can, and I think that a lot of fans would love to see this happen too. It gives them an out with Ezra Miller, right? To say, all right, Ezra, you're done. I mean, I think they could do that without Ezra being in the film initially. But if they need to bring him back just to write him off and bring in a new Flash, great. Fantastic. I know that would make me happy. I know it would make a lot of other fans of the DC universe happy too. So again, I think Flashpoint is the way. It is the way, my friends. This is what I think. Frank says that he looks forward to my streams. I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Vonemo says, but Ezra Miller is still the Flash. How can they save the DCEU when Ezra is the Flash? That is a fair point. And that's why I was just saying, if they need to bring him back to get rid of him, okay, fine. I'm okay with that. However, if they do the Flashpoint idea, they already own, again, depending on the contracts, of course, but from what I gather, they probably already still own any footage that Ezra has been featured in. So what they could do is they could just talk about Barry Allen. They could just talk about the Ezra Miller iteration of Barry Allen, maybe use some stock footage to have the Flashpoint storyline go to, happen. Or they just recast right away, bring in someone, and then just acknowledge it saying, hey, who are you? Oh, I'm Barry Allen. Wait, what do you mean you're Barry Allen? And then they don't even really have to bring him up. But if they need to, they have that stock footage that they could rely on. So there's ways around it. Again, there's ways around it. But as I said, if they need to bring him back for one more film to write him off, I'm okay with that. Just if it's to get rid of him, okay. Let's put up with him for one more movie and then he's done. But if not that, then I think there's ways they could actually still make that storyline work, even without it. Even without it. Bruce Body says, right, it can keep canon what's been done, but change it for the future. Exactly. So it can say, hey, these things are canon, and now we can change our future. It can also, though, in a really cool way, make things that are a part of the canon of a lot of people, but even more so, right? So as I said, we already have the universe of Batman that was established, back in the 80s and 90s, right? With the I don't know why I'm blanking out right now. Well, let's go to the worst one. Joel Schumacher, right? Rest in peace, Joel Schumacher. Even though the Batman movies he made were not that great, rest in peace, Joel Schumacher. Also someone that lived to be a very, very late age. But let's take that for example. If you wanted to, a Flashpoint movie could say, yeah, that's canon, right? That's a separate world. The reason why it's so wacky and weird is because it's another one of the Earths, right? It's a part of the multiverse. But then you can also go back and say, yeah, all the Christopher Nolan movies, boom, those are canon now too. Those are now also a part of the worlds of DC, boom. That's a separate world. You could build from that if you wanted to. It basically, I think, kind of leaves them the option to build on so many different directions, right? Obviously the Nolan Batman films were much more grounded in reality. They could essentially use Nolan's version of Gotham, but tell the story of a different character in that universe without necessarily having to bring back Christian Bale or anyone else, right? So again, I think it just leaves them that option. But the one I was thinking of was for some reason I was gonna say Tim Curry, and I'm like, not Tim Curry, Tim Burton's. But the way to kind of connect it to the future too is it could then say, yeah, the Tim Burton films are now canon as well, right? A part of this broader Worlds of DC universe, right? It was a separate Earth with a separate Batman. But then they can say, it's now that it's canon, now that it's officially part of this world, guess what? That means we can keep telling stories from it. And then boom, now you can bring in Batman Beyond with that iteration of Batman played by Michael Keaton and bringing in the new actors, etc. So it just seems like there's a lot of excitement. It seems like there's a lot of potentiality that could be brought in with this Flashpoint concept and this Flashpoint idea. So I really hope they do it, right? I really hope that they get it out there. And obviously, as I mentioned, it's going to rely heavily on the success of the perceived success of the upcoming Snyder Cut film, for sure. And now a huge shout out to all of my June Patreon members: Albertus Magnus, Animation Commentator, Brian P., David Bobrizik, Dion, Divex, Enrique Evangelista, Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father, Frank the Tank and the Shawhan Wiener Dog Clan, Harold Francis, the Hunky Chunky Funky Monkey, Inflamed Wood, Intertrap Productions, Jason Clark, Jeffrey Toon, Kenneth Cameo, Lady T, Laura Story, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mike Jackson, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin with the beautiful hair, Orange Hat Reviews, Outpost Dyer, Out of Step with Reality, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Steve Glasker, Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, Tina Bojan, The DJD Show, and Tina B. And also to my Subscribe-Star members, Edgardo Martinez, John B., Perpetual Punster, Robert Revo, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, G2 Cool 99, Darkstar 57, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., US 888209 Fast, Dean Heiss, Harold Francis, J. Rod, the Beer Guru, and also Nebanon G. Adams and ZK Man, and Jonathan Carney, and Jacob Juice. Thank you all so much for being a member of Patreon and Subscribe-Star. And seriously, it really does mean a lot. Helps keeps the light on, helps me able to do things like the giveaways for my $5 and up backers on Patreon and Subscribe-Star, and also be able to put more stuff into the actual channel itself, including upgrading different components, whether it be webcams, microphones, things like that. All of that helps to support it, and it really does mean a lot. So thank you all so very much. Please, if you want to have your name shouted out or look at any of the other perks, which include things like, indeed, having access to exclusive 4K digital giveaways every single month, and also an exclusive podcast hosted on Patreon and Subscribestar, and also YouTube memberships as well at the $10 and up level, featuring John the Flick Pig Flickinger. Please check all of those things out in the description of this video. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless.